with a video. And there we go.
Hello, my name is Burke Bear, and I'm 11 years old. I came here today to talk about what's wrong with our food system. First of all, I would like to say that I'm really amazed at how easily kids are led to believe all the marketing and advertising on TV, at public schools, and pretty much everywhere else you look. It seems to me like corporations are always trying to get kids like me to get their parents to buy stuff that really isn't good for us or the planet. Little kids especially are attracted by colorful packaging and plastic toys. I must admit, I used to be one of them. I also used to think that all of our food came from these happy little farms where pigs rolled in mud and cows grazed on grass all day. What I discovered was this is not true. I began to look into this stuff on the internet, in books, and in documentaries films, in my travels with my family. I discovered the dark side of the industrialized food system. First, there's genetic genetically engineered seeds and organisms. That is when a seed is manipulated in a laboratory to do something not intended by nature, like taking the DNA of a fish and putting it into the DNA of a tomato. Yuck. Don't get me wrong.
Hi guys, before we move on, did everybody see the video alright? Carlos, Eric, can you just confirm to me that you were able to see the video? Please.
The seeds are the planted.
Cool. Any problems with audio, anything? Eric, Carlos?
Produce have been proven to cause cancer and other problems in lab animals.
I asked if there were any problems with audio.
And people have been eating
Great. So, Mark, take it away. Don't forget to unmute yourself, Mark.
Most folks don't even know they exist. Did you know rats that genetically engineered corn had developed signs of liver and kidney toxicity?
Venues throughout the world, especially here in Albuquerque, these gatherings take place, and the primary form of delivery is oral. In many instances, 6, 12, 18 minutes. I found this example of this young lad very significant because it was such that he was able to deliver a presentation, a brief overview, 5 minutes and 21 seconds. It really reinforced the idea that speaking before an audience does require a certain skill set in place, and he demonstrated that extremely well. So today, or this evening, I wanted to share with you some particular aspects of speech delivery, historical context, speech structure, especially as it applies to those in the academic environment as they prepare to deliver at conferences. Oral communication and written communication are so significantly different, primarily for those in the academic environment. So frequently, research is conducted at a specific level. It can be dense, and it's very frequent that a document, a research document, must be synthesized and delivered in sometimes 10 minutes, if lucky, 20. And there are instances in which 30 minutes happens to be provided. It made me wonder, and I wanted to chat with you about that because there are different types of events which one must be prepared for. In certain instances, there may be a plenary session. There may be a general session for which one is asked to deliver a presentation. More commonly, we have the paper sessions. That individual will be provided with 15 to 30 minutes. For the younger researcher at the academic level, we are finding more and more that a poster presentation is the first gateway into delivery. Each is unique. I will presuppose and establish that we understand the process of securing funds, preparing the document. This evening, we're talking about primarily how to present and those constituent elements necessary to present and present well. Because you may find yourself in an exhibit hall, you may find yourself as a member of a panel, or engage in a debate. Moreover, a workshop is frequently a venue in which delivery will take place. Now, the document on the screen at this time, we here at the Graduate Resource Center at the University of New Mexico, frequently, we are invited to speak frequently on campus, in many instances abroad, nationally, internationally. I want to stress the oral communication component, and I want to discuss how significant that is. To understand that more significantly, time management. Time management is always a buzzword, a buzz phrase that we use very capriciously. There's a difference between a well-executed presentation and a presentation that is in need of enhancement. First and foremost, by the time you are to present, that document should be prepared for delivery. And by that, I mean knowing your material, understanding the audience, because understanding the audience is so critical. You have to address your audience, and you may have different layers. You may have the subject matter expert. You may have those with a modicum of knowledge, and you may have the layperson who has no idea what the content may include. Now, fundamentally, when you are delivering, it is absolutely necessary that you adhere to a structure that's in place. And that structure is that aspect which is so important. You have to be able to adapt, because in any environment, anything can happen. So your ability to segue in and out, to manage situations that can be a surprise, you have to have a poker face. Many instances, you are the one who's engaged in delivering your thoughts. You are justifying, in many cases, defending your thoughts. It's important for the audience to know exactly what you're going to discuss. We refer to that as the tell me. Tell me, tell me, tell me. Tell me what you're going to tell me. Tell me what you told me, and tell me again. We use that moniker as we structure our speech delivery, because you must understand that a presentation has three primary elements: the introduction, the body, and the conclusion. The introduction contains 3 points. The body contains 3 points. The conclusion contains 3 points. That's structural, because introduction, body, conclusion, use that as an acronym, because each subpart contains 3 points. Use the rule of 3. Consider this structure, use it all the time. Whether you want to write it down or not remains at your discretion. But IBC, introduction, body, conclusion, it better connect, it better convince. That is your goal as a presenter. You are delivering your knowledge, you're imparting knowledge unto others, and you want to make sure that the audience is interested in what you have to say. You are motivating your audience. And what occurs frequently is that it is important for you to determine your audience prior to the event, prior to the speaking event. You think about the audience. It is important for you to conduct that which is referred to as situational audience analysis. You speak with the coordinator. You ask about the population. You ask demographically, what is the audience comprised of? The age, the gender, the economic base, the political philosophy, station, chronological age, location, regionality. There are so many elements that can inform you as the presenter prior to your arrival at the venue. You want to make sure that you know as much about the audience because you want to make them want to read your document. Essentially, you're giving them a flavor, a taste of your comprehensive written word. In effect, you are whetting their appetite. It is useful to allude to the information in your paper that cannot be covered during a 10 or 15-minute presentation. So, what do you do to prepare? Practice, practice, practice. It may sound cliche, but the more you are familiar with your material, the material that you have adapted from written form, so much so that you can present, the greater comfort level you will have. Your audience wants you to do well. You want to do well. So your challenge is to make that information appealing. I want you to consider this. We spend less than 1 hour per day looking at ourselves. So as you practice, I want you to look at yourself in the mirror. Sometimes we are unfamiliar with regard to the body language. Body language is 70 to 90% of our messaging. Sometimes we are unaware of that messaging. So as you critique yourself, through the practice, through the rehearsal process, you can become familiar with that which you are doing with your face, that which you are doing with your hands. Sometimes excessive hand movement can be a distraction. You need to monitor that. Ask a dear friend, ask someone whom you trust to give you feedback. Tape yourself, listen to yourself, because vocal pacing is essential. Too frequently, people will race through their delivery. Elocution, enunciation, extremely important. The pitch, the highness, and the lowness of your voice, also quite important. You want to make sure that everyone in the venue can hear what you are saying. You want to make sure that everyone has a sense of who you are and you have established a comfort factor with that person, that group, that panel. When you get to the environment, there are a few things I believe are important for you to take advantage of, and I encourage you to address. I want to talk to you about the fact that you are going to an event and you've practiced, you've been able to adapt your information. Remember, introduction, body, conclusion. Most people will assimilate 3 points. Beyond that, you begin to lose your audience. That's why conciseness and succinctness is so important for you as the deliverer. It is important to become familiar with the environment in which you are delivering the presentation. And by that, know the dimensions, know the venue, become extremely familiar with the environment. Are you going to use a lectern, a podium? Will there be a console? The layout of the room will influence the success of your delivery, and it is incumbent upon you to become familiar with that room. Thus, arrive as early as possible. Know the layout, the seating arrangement. Become familiar with the audiovisual equipment, if necessary. Through your contact person, enlist the aid of an assistant If there's one thing you do not want to do is to operate a PowerPoint in front of a slide, the screen, with a silhouette of yourself. It's too busy. There's too much going on. You never want to cross the screen. That is considered taboo. It is just not done. So the layout of the room, where you must stand, how you must engage the microphone. Do you wear a lapel microphone? Handheld microphone? Are you speaking without any audiovisual equipment for voice projection? That needs to be ascertained. You may be part of a program in which there are several presenters. In that you may be visible, it is extremely important to listen to your co-presenters and take notes as they speak. It demonstrates to the audience that you're an interesting, fascinating person, that you're interested in others, you're interested in your colleagues. It has a calming influence. If, for any chance, you are looking in the opposite direction, or looking at your watch, or looking at your cell phone, for any reason, it sends out a negative impression. Always be engaged in the environment. Now, when it is your turn to present, from my perspective, I believe that it is essential for you to prepare the introduction for the master of ceremony, the facilitator of the event. Prepare it. You know yourself better than anyone else. You're more familiar with your material, the content. It's a semi-autobiographical sketch so that the facilitator can properly introduce you. Once that is done, graciously thank the organizers and or the sponsors before you proceed with your presentation. Always be prepared for the fact that there will be a timekeeper. If not, enlist someone to time you so that you know exactly the amount of time you have and the latitude for your delivery. As you present, embrace the room, embrace the audience. It is very important not to pace unnecessarily or excessively. Pacing is an indication of nervousness. Too frequently, I have observed presentations, and I've noticed that the clicking of pens not to be done, or the side of the pen, that is also a sign of nervousness. That is why practicing is so important, because the more you practice, the more you know your material, the less nervous you are. Rubbing of the hands. Hands in the pocket. Not done. Hands behind the back. Suspicious. Hands folded, arms folded, defensive. The nonverbal communication is so critical. It is also important to smile. Find someone. I want you to track the room 180 degrees. Start from your left to the center to the right, counterclockwise. Should you be standing and the audience is seated, there's an angularity, 45 degrees perhaps. Do not look at the audience members directly in their eyes. Look at the top of someone's head. That gives the illusion that you are looking at someone in the eyes. Also, I want you to smile. People attend a conference. They want to hear you. They want to become informed. People want you to succeed. If you smile and someone returns that smile, it does a few things. It establishes a comfort level. Moreover, it induces the release of endorphins. The endorphins will increase your comfort factor. There's a sense of elation. You will relax. You will be more at ease. And that's what you want, because it's important to be comfortable with what you are saying. It's important to bond with the audience. Now, as you are beginning to move toward the closing of your presentation, keep your eye on that timer. And should the timer indicate that you have perhaps a 2-minute warning, do not indicate exasperation. Whoa, only 2 minutes left. Not done. I want you to make sure, should you be in a position to engage in Q&A, try to make sure that there's a connection between the question and the nature of your research. Also, be careful, because you can lose control of your presentation by engaging numerous questions. I advise that accept one question with the understanding that you'll be more than happy to entertain further questions during a break or at another time during the presentation when you can engage the public. I have seen, however, a question and answer session become a situation in which the person is not asking a question. The person is claiming the forum to soapbox. What occurs? You lose control of your presentation, the timer is upset, and it throws off the schedule. In the event anyone appears in the audience misinformed about your research or judgmental about your research, maintain the poker face. Do not indicate in any way that you are upset. Your poise is extremely important for the goodwill that you establish, and goodwill within the context of presentation. The audience needs to know that you are looking out for its best interest. So the more polite and engaging you are, the greater the comfort factor is with the audience. We have been able to navigate some significant aspects of presenting. It can be a daunting situation, but there are other aspects that I want to share with you. And more, when I am asked to discuss presenting at a conference, public speaking skills, and training techniques, I respond by encouraging the people to take a theater class, because actors understand better than anyone else how to move an audience. Actors know how to connect well. And there are certain theater techniques, stage techniques, that you can employ in order to increase the acceptability of your presentation. Most importantly, your voice exercises breath control, diaphragmatic breathing. By that, frequently, you may have encountered individuals who speak from the top of the lungs. That causes a shortness of breath. I want you to speak from your abdomen. Take your oxygen from your abdomen. I want you to inhale, and as you exhale, count from 1 to 10. This diaphragmatic exercise will help you with your breath control, your oxygen control, because the transportation of oxygen in the system will have you relaxed. Breathing, breath control is so important because think about it. Think about athletes. Think about singers. Think about people who engage in martial arts, yoga. Breath control is extremely important. I want you to think of public speaking and presentation as an athletic ability, because your physical presence is extremely important. Your pitch is the highness and the lowness of your voice. Speaking from your throat, speaking from your mouth, speaking from the nose, that nasal quality that so frequently many Americans have. Become more familiar with your voice. Take a voice class, elocution class, diction class. This will help you, because if there's one thing I would like for you to do is present at conferences, and present at as many conferences as you possibly can. That is how you gain the experience. I want you to present locally. Look for opportunities to present, because the more you do so, the greater you will be at ease with yourself. Moreover, as you speak and as you begin to document speaking engagements, you are establishing one of the most critical factors for you as a presenter, and that is your credibility. You are the subject matter expert. But if no one's heard you present, and few have read your material, your recognition level is not as high as it could be. I want you to enjoy what you're doing. I also want to make sure that you understand the following. When you engage an audience, people are moved by, people are attracted to a statistic, a quote, and most importantly, an anecdote. The idea, populate your delivery with anecdotes. People love to hear what someone has done, that which influenced someone to conduct the type of research that was conducted. It helps drive the story. It reinforces your presentation. When you speak, and you are to speak powerfully, it takes energy. The physical presence, the voice, the gestures, they all combine to make your presentation significant. Your job is to relay information, to impart information onto others. So in order to do that, you have to be familiar with the techniques of effective performance. And those techniques are rooted in that Aristotelian construct, primarily the pathos. Now, the ethos, we've talked about ethos, the ethics, the ethical argument will motivate an audience to accept what you are saying. Logos, That's Greek for the logic of your argument, of your research, will induce the audience to accept what you are asserting, what your research has delivered. Your passion. No one is going to listen to you if you have a monotonous voice. Your vocal range does not change. You have to pepper your delivery with a style, a manner, rooted in an expectation, a clear understanding that you know your subject matter, but that you are passionate about your subject matter. You're passionate about your work and what you are doing. People relate to that. They relate to it in many ways. Body language. When someone is interested in what you're saying, there's a tendency for the person to lean forward, to lean in. If someone is rejecting that what you're saying, they pull back. They recoil. Notice these aspects of human behavior, because your goal is to engage. Your goal is to make sure that you remain relaxed and that you are thinking on your feet. Your goal is to make sure that your delivery is not frenetic, but is imbued with features and facets that are consistent with being a passionate and engaged speaker. In many instances, you may hear someone refer to being present in the moment. That's extremely important. That term is used a lot, especially with regard to stage and the theater. However, for a presenter, it's important for you to be visible, to be engaged with the audience, the subject matter. There's a great deal going on. You have to engage the audience, clearly articulate the primary points of your presentation, monitor the timer, look at the body language, and make sure that you are moving through your information. Now, contrary to popular opinion, not every performance is the same. There's slight and subtle tweaking. You can act and interact in a different way. And the more you speak, the more you will be able to determine those areas of improvement. So you're always refining. You're always looking for ways to improve that which you have delivered. You want to be able to be more attuned to the audience, not just to deliver the speech. I want you to think about the element of improvisation. That enables you to be prepared to change, adapt as necessary. I also find that when we think in terms of your connection, theater, business, sales, marketing, it's important for the audience to sense your motives. They can hear the subject matter, but they need to observe. And your body language is a form of reinforcing your message. It is important for you to decide exactly what you want your audience to know. That's when you're clear on your purpose. Strategically, you have structured your delivery, and you are successful in influencing the audience to think, to feel, and to do as you want them to do. You want them to find you and your information appealing. In many ways, you have a responsibility to ensure that that takes place. Basically, you want people to trust you. And in order to trust you, they have to be connected with you. Thus, your vision, that which is important to you, can be heard in your voice. The audience wants to know that you want to be there. The audience should hear that in your voice. The audience should see that with your body language. Your voice is the most significant and important communication tool that you own. Not everyone is a great orator, but each of us can improve our vocal skills in order to speak successfully. Now, that is the voice, the body language. One should not pace about. That's an indication of nervousness. One should make sure that one is not mediocre. That is a significant way to lose your audience. Using your movement is significant. Your posture, standing upright, shoulders back, head up. It's important for you to demonstrate a sense of comfort with who you are. That's part of the success in delivery. Now, from this perspective, it's important to be a good storyteller. That's why infusing your presentation with anecdotes is significant. And these are anecdotes which are appropriate and complementary. However, and more so, becoming a good storyteller. It helps tremendously because that ability will allow you to bring the audience into your realm. Delivering information is one thing. Okay, presenting at a conference does not mean that it necessarily has to be dull and boring. It does not. In many ways, you are a storyteller. If you want to connect with your listeners, tell them a story. Stories are filled with drama, the excitement, the joy of your accomplishment, the joy of the research, and through your voice, the audience will understand your sincerity. It's a powerful technique for letting audiences know how committed you are to your message and to your listeners. One of the most significant, if not the greatest writer who ever lived was a dramatist. And there's no one like Shakespeare for teaching us about the power of language. You can read his works, the sonnets, the tragedies, the comedies. The language of the speech, the language of your presentation is significant. Speak with color, speak with impact, and you will discover how words and sounds can affect people. Vivid, powerful language can make a presentation sing. Dull, monotonous delivery can put the audience to sleep. That is why it is important to include an element of theater in your presentation, because it will balance and buoy the entire presentation. I had a conversation earlier today, and one aspect that I felt was important to discuss, especially in this changing world, the globe, the exchange of ideas, the intersectionality, is such that we are required and responsible to consider the fact that intercultural, cross-cultural relations, engagement are extremely important to be interculturally competent. is significant. There are 6,000 graduate students at the University of New Mexico. More and more, the number of international students is increasing. The number of international faculty is increasing. And as we are in the early part of the 21st century, it's important to understand that the world is changing. And one aspect of the conversation that I had this morning pertained to the Eurocentric education that exists in the West, the Judeo-Christian ethic, which is the foundation of our philosophies. However, in the course of conversation, we began to discuss how the nation states, the emerging economies, are changing. We look at the Western Hemisphere, the Southern Hemisphere, our neighbor to the south. Brazil is a rapidly emerging economy. Brazilian Portuguese is a significant language to learn. It will complement the Spanish. They're different. And the nuances, the inflection. But to specialize in Latin American affairs, I believe that it's extremely important to add Portuguese to your toolkit. More and more engagement, exchange with China and India, primarily China. It's very important, as China is the second strongest economy in the world. Cultural, educational exchange is increasing significantly. It is necessary to know how to engage with people. You have a responsibility. If you're going to have a multicultural audience, make an effort to engage that multicultural audience. I observed a speech once, and it was a formal presentation, academic in nature. And the individual delivering the speech peppered the presentation with sports metaphors, American football, American baseball, making statements such as you must knock it out of the park, or if things do not go well for you, you must punt. And I could observe that many people were not as clear on the phraseology. And it's important to understand that more and more we are engaging different people from different parts of the world. We're meeting people on our home university at UNM. We are meeting a wide range of people in Albuquerque. And so frequently there's a partnership between the university and the city of Albuquerque, the state of New Mexico, that it's important to understand the Hispanic community, the Native American community, because engagement is so critical, and there's so much that we do significantly in New Mexico that I believe is a microcosm of that which takes place globally. You see, there's a Eurocentric perspective oriented toward individualism, and that influences how people engage one another. And there's an Asia-centric perspective. There is a perspective Latin America. There's an Afrocentric perspective. More and more people are engaging one another, collaborating, sharing information. And it is important to understand that to be versatile enough to engage a wide range of people can be extremely beneficial for you as a speaker, because more frequently than not, international travel is increasing. Skype-based presentations, we're using a computer right now to engage. More and more, these are dimensions and aspects that must be included when one is delivering. So I like the fact that we need to consider potential globalization. I prefer exchange. I like the concept of interculturalism, to be able to embrace, to be culturally sensitive, and that influences what you do as a speaker. In certain instances, being bilingual, trilingual, can help you. It can advance you as a public speaker, as a presenter at conferences. Many conferences will take place in other parts of the world. Now, frequently, these conferences may be
just a reminder, we're 5
bilingual,
minutes
trilingual,
and we have to do the evaluation still. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. I appreciate that. I do hope that you have found this of value, and I want to thank Felipe and the Graduate Resource Center for enabling me to speak with you, and always know that we will do our best to support you in any way possible. Thank you so much. Good evening.